taken off of them any need to fulfill some or follow some gender stereotype that society's put on them.
I'm Glenn Herbert, and I'm an editor with Our Kids. We're speaking with insiders from Canada's leading private schools to gain insights into their programs, culture, traditions, and leadership. This includes insights from parents, alumni, and administrators. This is the Our Kids Insider Perspective.
That is a really great question. I get to work with kids, and they are energizing. I'm a second career teacher, but I get, it's not even work with, that's the wrong word. I get to walk alongside while they grow up. So, and I get them here, we're grade 3 to 12. So I just, this morning we had a graduation, wasn't our graduation ceremony, but we had a graduation celebration. We had all of the grade 12s on campus, and there's a number of them I've known since they were 8 years old, and they're 18 now. And you walk alongside a kid for that duration of time, you're going to see the ups and you're going to see the downs. You're going to share some celebrations with them, and you're going to, you know, put a hand on their back through some difficult times. And so it is just, that is a privilege. It is a privilege to walk alongside other people's kids as they grow up. So for that, by a mile, that is number one. Number two, I would say the work of a school is learning, and it is getting better. And that is the work of an 8-year-old or a 54-year-old in my case. So when you work in a place whose whole mission is about getting better and reflecting and improving and seeking feedback, it is a very freeing opportunity for all of us as individuals to, you know, our mission statement here speaks about best version of himself, best version of each individual. And we're always in pursuit of that. And I always say, let's hope we never get there. If anybody ever tells you you've hit your best version, stop listening to them. So I think for me, again, personally, spending my career working in a place that is all about improvement and getting better, and recognizing that there's going to be bumps and ups and downs along the way, but that's the business that we are in schools, and it's certainly the Royal St. George's College business is getting better. Thirdly, I would say working alongside people who choose to spend their days with kids. Those are great people, and one of the things we like to say here at the school is take your job seriously, don't take yourself seriously. And teachers wear Halloween costumes, and teachers will online learning. You should see, I drop into classrooms and I'll see someone with a huge wig on, or it's fake mustache day in grade 11 physics today. So everybody I drop into a class, and anyways, people that choose to spend their time, I think people that pursue the career of teaching or educators, I always say here, everybody that works in the school is an educator, whether they answer the phone or sweep or teach, grade 3 or grade 12. They're all educators. If you choose to do that, you probably have a great sense of humor. You probably don't take yourself too seriously. You probably get energized by fun, by important things, by the charming moments of life. And so being able to spend my day with teachers, with people that this is what they choose to do. They're smart. They could work at a law firm. They could work at a bank. They could run a sports empire. They choose to do this. And so those are really 3 amazing things about my job. I joined, as I said to you, July 2011, and we were literally right in the middle of the biggest building campaign in the school's history. So facility master plan had been put in place, which called for changes to learning spaces. We know that the kind of the 20 by 20 classroom with 5 rows of 4 desks is not how good learning takes place. So there was a lot of facility upgrades going on in terms of space, in terms of light, in terms of ventilation. In our case here, in terms of parking, you said it, you can't park your car here. So in terms of how we use our footprint here, we've got a small footprint, but how do we make sure that the bulk of the footprint is being used to make kids' days better, make their learning better, and their enjoyment better, and their play better, and their mental health better. So I walked into a place that was generally a big hole in the ground, and we were able to build over the next 3 years a beautiful campus that takes into account cutting edge learning spaces, but also retains the history, the charm of the place, maintains a big aspect of, I think, what is a unique feature of us is that we're a downtown school. We are, we didn't relocate out to the suburbs for a bigger piece of property. We stayed exactly where we are on the subway line, but really made better use of the space that we have, better use of our buildings, better equipped classrooms. As I say, fresh air, light, these are incredibly important for kids learning. So and I walked into that, as I said, I walked into a construction site and I was able to shepherd along and it was my first big building project as a head of school. And I think that that's something that everybody looks back and goes, well, that's part of my legacy will be that. We've undertaken a few projects since, but certainly at that time walking in was that transformation of the campus. In the old times and the before times. Let's go with the before times. I stand on the lay-by. So we have a lay-by. Since your days on Howland, we've improved our traffic flow by having a lay-by off of Howland, which I think everybody appreciated. I am out on the lay-by with 2 of my colleagues every single morning, regardless of weather, regardless of anything. So, and I say good morning. We say good morning. There's 3 of us to every single kid as they get out of the car. And it is I think it is emblematic a lot of what we do at the school. But I always think that if they're anything like my kids, their breakfast and their drive to school may have been completely and utterly in silence or with a grunted answer, or possibly with headphones on as they came in. So it is a good morning to every kid as they're dropped off, and then a hi to the little brother or sister in the other side of the back seat, and a hi to mom and dad. And we've got 2 entrances. So out here on Howland is really the kids that are being driven to school, which tends to be my younger ones. And then I'll walk across my field, such as it is, to the doors, the Albany Avenue doors, where the guys coming from the subway are coming from. And that's high school kids, and they are even gruntier in the morning. But it's a smile, and you get a good morning and a hi by name to every kid that comes into the school. Some try to find some reason, pull out your headphones, son. You do not walk past me with those in, but engage them. Make sure that the first contact in the day is something positive and affirming for them. So I start with that. Then I usually stand in the senior school hallways and hustle kids along that are late, point them in the right direction, poke my head into classrooms and say hi to my colleagues, and usually some really bad jokes along the way or what have you. And try to, again, it's not a big campus here. Get my head into every classroom if I can, every morning, just for a good morning and a hi. And you spot a kid that's just got his hair cut, or a kid that you knew was out yesterday. I always make note of whose birthday it is every day, so I can particularly embarrass them in the morning. And then it would be, into my office, but I try to get out. I do recess duty or lunch duty as often as I can, which would be, typically a few times a week. Get through the matters of the day with respect to emails and phone calls or whatever crises are coming up. Kids sometimes get hurt in the course of a day. Sometimes kids get a bad test result. So, there's various check-ins that need to be done, and I've got a good team around that. And I love to end my day. And again, this is some of the nostalgia is almost always somewhere on campus, there's a game going on, whether it's volleyball or basketball or a soccer game. We use U of T, so I can walk over and watch soccer. We use Bill Bolton Arena. I'll walk over and watch a hockey game. So where I can, I like to try to keep after school clear as well to go watch one of my teams playing, drop into a band practice, drop into a play practice, poke my head around. If I can, I think I can probably make contact with like legitimate, hi, how are you contact with 70% of the kids almost every day. It's not a big population. I know every kid's name, most of their parents' names. So and again, you do this long enough, you watch them grow up. So yeah, so honestly, try not to be in my classroom or my office at least much during the course of the day. Obviously, I have to. There are matters that need to be attended to, and newsletter articles written, and conversations with the board, and what have you, and financial matters and fundraising matters. But really, out of my office in the school or on the field. So we've got really 3 entry points for into the school. So grade 3, which is an odd starting time, right? It's sort of right at the end of primary, not yet into intermediate years, or into junior, at least junior division years, and it dates back to at a time when a number of the girls' schools, Branksome and Havergal and BSS, all took boys up until grade 2. And so the boys' schools often started at grade 3. The other boys' schools in the city have none of the space restrictions that I have. So they now typically go back to grade 1 or to kindergarten. But so grade 3, it's a small community. There's probably 12 or 15 kids in there, and remains a single class of 12, 15, 18 kids through grade 6. So we would take a few kids on in each additional year. Grade 7 is our next entry point. So we go from one class of grade 6, probably about 18 kids, to 3 classes of grade 7. Again, a number of our feeder schools end at grade 6. A lot of the TDSB schools end at grade 6. So that entry point into middle school. For us, we move out of mom or dad as the homeroom teacher all day into a model where they've got different teachers for STEM and for humanities and for languages and for the arts, for phys ed. So the kids are exposed to more adults. We find time in 7 for them to really, they're while they're in their homeroom unit most of the day, they all get to know each other. They do phys ed together. They do, again, there's 50 kids in grade 7, typically 45 to 50. And that would be the same model for 8. We try to keep them, the middle school is a geographical, it's separate in that it's on a different floor in a building, but again, in a small campus, that's separate. We let them know that middle school is a jump in terms of responsibility, in terms of what's expected of you, in terms of what's expected of you reaching down to the younger kids and mentoring and helping them. Then our guys move to high school in grade 9, where they are again joined by one more entry year. So we would again, typically, if I've got say 50 kids from grade 8, we call it across the tarmac because the space between the junior school and the senior school, we're all on the same campus, is the tarmac. That's where we play ball hockey. It's exceptionally important because it's where we play ball hockey. The kids that move across the tarmac, we typically have about another 25 kids join them. So 70 to 75 kids in grade 9, and they're in a high school program. They are taking in grade 9, 8 courses. They are switching rooms for most of their courses. They've got a specialist teacher for each of their courses. They're mixing and mingling again, this is in the before times when you can mix and mingle and meet different kids and learn with different kids. They are working through a high school program. One of the things that's really important, as I said, with my grade 8s and their work with younger grades is we're small enough in the high school that a grade 12 and a grade 9 will get to know each other pretty fast. And so my guys are going through 9 to 12 again from a more generalist, as per the Ontario curriculum, more generalized group of courses, into specializing in determining, are you pursuing the sciences or the maths or the arts or languages or music or the other arts. So business studies. So they're picking and choosing their courses more in 11 and 12 as they're really considering what they want to pursue in university. And yeah, and then they're heading off to, we are a university preparatory school. It's my expectation that my guys are generally going to go to a university. Often we encourage some of them to look at a gap year, consider a gap year, but they're heading off to typically Ontario or Canadian universities, but also some international ones as well after they graduate. Infinitesimal. It is. There is a great degree of satisfaction with working at Royal St. George's College. Some years we do have, I've actually have one of those years now where I've got a couple of people at the end of long careers moving on, but typically it is very little staff turnover. This is a nice place to work, and that is not about salaries, benefits, lunch, parking allowance. It's about the kids that come here, and it is about the families that choose this school and the kids that they have. And I think my faculty understand, my colleagues understand, it is such a privilege to work with these kids and these families. So I think that's what keeps people really engaged and they stay here. It's very small turnover of faculty. In my career, I taught at Branksome Hall for 5 years. So I attended boys' school for 10 years. I went on to university. As I said, I was a magazine publisher. I was in magazine publishing as well as being a publisher for a brief period of time in my 20s and early 30s, and then became a teacher. So I attended all boys school. I taught at an all girls school. I ran a co-ed school, and now I run an all boys school. And so I've seen them all. I wrote my master's thesis on boys' attitudes towards stereotypically feminine gender pursuits in boys' schools and co-ed schools. So it was an attitudinal questionnaire about, would you be willing to sing in a choir, act in a play, play on an ultimate team sort of thing. And looking at, is there a difference between the attitudes of these? And this was really personal. I was a product of a boys' school, but I was an elementary school teacher who studied English literature in university, acted on stage in university. Sort of everywhere I went, I was in the minority because I was a male. And I wondered, am I more inclined to these things because I went to boys' school? Or should I be less inclined to these things because I went to boys' school? Truthfully, I think my thesis was kind of a null thesis, but I got some really interesting anecdotal commentary. And so, I think that one must be aware of the downside, the toxic masculinity, the locker room kind of humor, banter, sexist jokes of that boys' education or any sort of male-only organization can lead to. But I think the flip of that to me is what I see, which is absent playing to some predetermined gender stereotypical role, there is a great freedom for kids to be to pursue and be great at those things that they may otherwise dumb themselves down on. The girls' schools have been telling us this lesson for a long time about science and math. And I think that the opposite of that is very much true in boys' education. The best, and again, I ran a co-ed school. I would watch the boys not put up their hand because they knew someone was going to answer that question about what the theme of that chapter might have been, and that someone was probably the smartest girl in the class. And I say here, the best artist in the class is a boy. The best singer in the class is a boy. The best trumpet player is a boy. We have a thriving sewing knitting club, and it's all boys in there. And to me, I saw it first when I got here in our choir. I spoke a little bit. We're founded as a choir school. We still have a thriving vocal music program right through the end of grade 12. I've got, kids taking high school credits in vocal music. When I ran the co-ed school, I could not get boys to join the choir. I would come on, you have a beautiful voice. I've stood next to you singing "O Canada. Why are you not in the choir?" It's no, I'm not joining the choir. The only kids in my choir are boys. And it's cool to be in the choir. And I truly believe, and this is, I think, speaks to some of the ethos of the school. If it is cool at a boys' school to be in a choir, it is fine to do anything. It is fine to pursue anything. And the most popular club in the junior school is cooking club here. I don't know that cooking club is popular with boys at a co-ed school. And I know that I am laying across so many gender stereotypes here, but I do think that there is a real opportunity for boys to shine as the best version of themselves, because we've taken off of them any need to fulfill some or follow some gender stereotype that society's put on them. One of my guys graduated today. If he ever sees this, he's going to know I'm talking about him, and he'll be appalled. Anyways, he's been with me since he was 8 years old. He's a grade 3 kid, been with me the 10 years. We have a prefect system at the school, and this kid very easily could have been head prefect, but he wasn't, which would have been disappointing to him. But he has committed himself to his academics. He's a smart kid. He's a really bright kid, but really committed, and takes the hard path, takes the difficult path, but has been very quietly, unassumedly, during the course of a really hard year, doing so much of the communication, which has replaced assemblies and replaced whole school gatherings, have been, what we're doing on Instagram, what we're doing on in social media, the videos that we're putting out. He's quietly produced, edited. He's a genius in almost everything he touches, but he's a really technical guy. He took home today some academic awards, but he also took the behind the scenes art award home, because he also was the kid that would stay and do the lighting and would do the junior school play even when he was in the senior school, and ran our entrepreneurship club for years since he was in grade 8, where his most important motivation was, this is an amazing, the entrepreneur club, they do my dry cleaning's done by our entrepreneur club, because they arranged with a local dry cleaner. You know what? We've got 100 adults work here that all have dry cleaning. If we give you one central place to pick up their cleaning and drop it back off, it's hung in the garage every Thursday. When you go down, there's your dry cleanings back. And they arranged, the entrepreneurship club arranged to take a cut of that, and the dry cleaners loved it, because they got one place to pick up 100 clients without having to. Anyways, this kid organized all that, and it's not profit for him. He's not allowed to make money coming to school. His prime ambition was to make sure that the next people leading that were well prepared. So this is a representation of just academic excellence, but grounded with such humility and such service, such a commitment to service, and a commitment to give back what he thought was given to him. And so much of it unseen. So much of it unseen that, only in the kind of conversation of adults around would be, oh, you know what that kid did for me and for my kids, or he came back to visit my grade 3s. He came back to, so I think an understated excellence, a take your work seriously, don't take yourself seriously, a commitment to, we are a really small school. We are a small school that's often off the beaten path. My admissions guy says nobody ever drives past Royal St. George's College by accident. You know that, you lived on Howland. Um, when you find us, our families that find us understand the gift of their kid coming here, and 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 our kids understand the gift of coming here. They say to me, one of the best anecdotes I had a kid, I go visit the boys at university, and I was out, I was in Halifax, and had, I take the kids out, I always say, for chicken wings and ginger ale. So I take them out to the local pub, and I just catch up with them, right? I've watched them grow up, and it's important to me to stay in touch with them at university. So I travel to the university towns where most of our guys go. So I'm in Halifax, and I've got first, second, third, fourth, fifth year kids sitting in at this bar. And because, again, we're a small school, a lot of them know each other. If you're in grade 12 and I'm in grade 10, there's a good chance here you're going to know those kids and know their names and everything. So we're talking, and the kids are sharing old stories about their teachers and anecdotes about their favorite teachers. And this kid sitting next to me says, he's in fourth year, I think, at the time. He said, Mr. Beatty, I used to think everybody loved high school. I used to think everybody loved their teachers. And then I realized when I left, almost nobody loves their teachers, and very few people love high school. And I used to talk so much about my teachers and my RSGC days that I think people thought I was weird, so I stopped talking about it. But then when you come and we're all back together, I just love telling these same old stories again. I love telling about, the teacher that wore the same tie every day for a year, or how the one set of essays would take 2 weeks to come back the first time, and then they'd be back the next day the second time, or whatever, right? Like, and they're stories told full of love. They are stories of kids who understand and appreciate what they were given in their relationship with teachers. So this kid I'm talking about just understood, I was given something special here, and I want to give it back. And I want to make sure that the kid in grade 3 right now has the same opportunities and experience that I had going through. Again, it's a small school thing. There is such an esprit de corps about being a Georgian, and we make great hay about being a Georgian. Hope to be able to give to the current students what was given to me, especially with my young guys at university. There is always a great reach back to the grade 11s and 12s. So we, early in the grade 12 year, the guys that are at university will come with and we do this in a room without adults, so they can really talk about some of their experiences, but talk about what's it like at this university. And if you like XYZ, you should consider this university, or these are the things that I didn't like about it when I got to this university. And then we now have a program where we match up our first year guys with our, say, third or fourth year guys when they get to university, to show them around and to say that, you know what, don't go to that cafeteria because the food's terrible. This is the cafeteria that everybody goes to. And those kind of nuanced things that no one tells you. But I think, again, it probably has to do with the fact that they knew each other in the later grades of high school, or even when they were in the junior school together. My grade 8s and my grade 5s know who each other are, and because it's a small school. So certainly with my young alum that are currently at universities, it is someone helped me both find, decide, and settle into my university. So I'm perfectly willing to do that to the next group of guys. And then I've got again, it's a young school here. We started in '64. We have an increasing number of alumni, they're now younger than me. I'd like to say my age, but I'm older, that are bringing us their sons. And that's been, even in the 10 years that I've been here, we've gone from kind of 5 or 6 legacy kids. I think we probably have 25 now, 25, again, in a small population whose dads went here. And again, I'm on the older edge now, but the dads that are here, the dads whose sons are here, I grew up with these guys. and we, you know, went to the soccer tournaments together, or we acted in the play together or whatever. So um, you know, I think it's a small school thing, but you do tend to know the people on either side. So certainly, I think that's been an evolution, is the number of our alumni bringing us their son. And when we have our alumni dinners, that kind of thing, um, everybody loves being back on campus. Everybody feels it's hard to find anyone who didn't love their experience here, certainly in the last 30 years. So there's a really high engagement, and you know, does it turn into big fundraising? No, but that's not really what we're after anyways. It is a stay engaged, you know, help out, when you're at university, help with the guys in later end of high school, and if you can, bring me your son. We are in a competitive independent school market in the city, and we have, if boys education is your interest, we have three remarkable boys schools in the city, two of which have rolling fields of manicured lawns and uh, bountiful arts centers, in some cases not just a normal sized ice rink but an Olympic ice rink. They're magnificent. I have a beautiful urban gem of a campus here where I think that we have endeavored to make every square foot of this something that really benefits the guys, benefits the boys. But I think one of the things that really benefits us as a school is, we sell academic excellence, we sell relationships, we sell character, and we sell, like, really character. Everybody talks about it, and they do a good job too. I'm not saying anybody's not doing a good job. But character is, I think, grounded in, it is in those relationships. It is in the known and loved promise that we make. It is in the, you know what, I'm going to call you on your bad behavior because I actually know you've been taught better than that. Families that eschew the prestige, the long history, the busts of the founders, in the spacious oak-lined Founders Hall for Royal St. George's College, have a family priority of values, of character, of love, of fun, of laughter, of joy, of challenge, that those kids, my kids, can get in anywhere. The parents have chosen this kind of third on the scale of prestige grounds, whatever. We're the third of three. But I think where we shine, if you are attracted to the places that we shine brightest, you have nice kids. You talk a lot about at dinner table about the news, or about current goings on in the world, or about, you know, things other than travel, and so families that those things really appeal to bring me their kids. And I often say our dirty little secret is those kids are already really nice. Like, we put a great currency on the good guy factor here. On my graduates tell us that we want to be the guys who are, you know, treating people with respect, treating girls with respect at most, at, you know, at social events, at staying behind and clean up after, at meeting, you know, meeting mom and dad at the door and shaking hands with them. And so I get these amazing young men coming here, and they draw to them more amazing young men. So I really think that that's a big piece for us. I think independent schools and TDSB schools, there's great education out there and available. And certainly we've got some amazing programs that we're great at. We've got some really innovative programs here, but it's who you're around as much as what you're doing. And that milieu of really good, nice kids is important to us, and draws more of the same. You know, we are a university, as I said before. We know that we are preparing our kids for university, typically for university, or for some higher education that comes next. We get kids going to culinary school. We get And that's amazing. That's all celebrated, but some education will follow. If their learning needs are such that, more intensive help, I've got a great learning center, but more intensive remediation or modification of an academic program, or just really pursuing the academic level programs in the province isn't for them. I don't have the, the academic offerings, perhaps, or the level of accommodation or modification that would be needed. And then I think, again, if you are in pursuit of telling everyone the great prestigious school that you attend, or as is often the case, if mom or dad are in the pursuit of telling the person in the next office the great prestigious well-known institution their son attends, you're going to be disappointed when you get here. It's a great school. It's a great education. And those are great schools. I have nothing but great things to say about those schools. But I think people are in general maybe less impressed to hear that you got a boy at RSGC until they meet that boy from RSGC. Then they're pretty impressed. My predecessor's predecessor, he didn't coin this, and he's the first to say he didn't coin it, but this idea of known and loved, which we frame as, I think, or typically it's seen as adult to kid, that they are known and that they are loved, but it is kid to kid as well. It is a culture of, I think in some cases it's the underdog culture and the esprit de corps of being the underdog culture. My teams don't do particularly well. I mean, we do sometimes. Like we're outgunned. And I gotta, if you play rep league hockey, or if you play house league hockey at the local arena, you're gonna make my hockey team. At most of the other boys' schools, you better be playing AAA hockey or you're not making their school hockey team. The humility that comes with that, the esprit de corps that comes with that, comes a real sense of taking care of each other, and the pride that comes, I think, from the belonging that happens in a small school, and being known and loved for everything that is quirky about you, as well as everything that you shine at brightest. And I think for boys especially, being open to be known, getting rid of the mask of hardcore masculinity or expectation of, whatever, to be vulnerable enough to be known, and then to find in that sense of belonging. And I think my teachers feel that way. I think every adult in here feels that way. They certainly feel that way towards the kids. But I think that the kids understand that as well. They understand it as something special. They understand it as something different. They understand it is to be cherished and safeguarded. We use the word around here a lot of Georgian, and that's Georgian. That is when this kid, grade 12 high achieving kid quietly does the lighting for the junior school play without making a big deal about it. That's Georgian. And we struggle to define Georgian, but that culture piece it's exactly that. It is the vulnerability, the belonging, the taking care of each other, the modeled by adults with kids, and modeled by kids with kids, and modeled by adults with adults. It's a special place. It's another one of the reasons that my turnover is essentially nothing. I think that the parent as the client can be a pitfall of independent education, or the sense of that the parent as the fee-paying client is always right. Those parents don't bring their kids to this school. And I think, again, from that same place of, there is a built-in humility factor to eschewing one of the other bigger, more established, more prestigious independent schools in the city and bringing your kid here. There is with that an understanding of where your values are as a parent, and they are typically, there are some exceptions, of course. They're typically absolutely aligned with what we're trying to do with the kids here. So there is a real partnership. It is, we like to say, and I really believe this, and this is, as I said, I've worked at other independent schools in the city, and they're great schools. I know from the conversations I have with my other colleagues is that sense of partnership, that sense of we both know that we're doing our very best here. This is particularly shone in the last year, where stripped back so many of the things that the parents had hoped for in an independent education for their kid. Athletics, co-curriculars, the arts, these are going to school. These have been stripped back, and all I get, 95% of the feedback I get from parents is gratitude that I'm collecting on behalf of my teachers. They see you are doing your best, and they are just so grateful for that. They are grateful that you put on the big wig or the fake mustache or whatever to keep the learning, to keep their kid engaged, and that you put the effort in to change your program to keep it moving forward. So I really think, I think, again, my colleague Tom says, like, one of the big advantages at a boys' school is boys don't talk to their parents. So we tend not to get those, I think, some of those acrimonious phone calls that come when, little Johnny's been accused of X, Y, Z, because Johnny doesn't go home and tell anybody he's been accused of X, Y, Z. But I think that that's kind of largely apocryphal. I think that what we have is our parent body whose values are aligned with exactly what we do. They want their kid to be known and loved. They want him to be challenged and inspired. They want him to be the best version of himself. They understand that we're all in that same pursuit. So the relationships are, like I say, they are a big part of the reason why people stay here, why adults stay here. And we know each other, right? That's the other thing. There's 447 kids. Typically my high school teachers will teach grade 10 and grade 12. So they'll get the same parents over a couple of, we like parent teacher conferences. I had a dad say to me a couple of weeks ago, parent teacher conferences, I think all I talked about was the Leafs at the year end, parent teacher interviews. I don't even think we talked to, I already knew what they thought of my kid or what my kid was doing. They've been giving me that feedback all along. We got into the parent teacher meeting. We talked about the Leafs chances. I think you address all conflict by open-hearted, open-minded listening. We have certain expectations of behavior, of treatment of each other, of what it means to be in this community together. I think that I always try to approach from a basis of, and this is, this is inter-adult conflict too, is that there is learning in all things, and most people, upon receiving feedback, want to get better. So I think, you try to go into this from a place of being as open-minded and open-hearted, as I say, and not walking in to assign blame, but to recognize people's perceptions, kids' perceptions in this case, where the perceived injustice took place, which very likely was at the, true injustice or perceived injustice, which may have been at the heart of it. And an understanding that schools are places of learning, and as you know better, you are expected to do better. And that we, as Georgians, there are certain things that we believe and that are okay, and that are standards that need to be held to. So, I think, and typically, I think, from a place of listening and listening to kids come up with ideas on how to do better and move beyond. Kids don't carry grudges usually. Kids are usually pretty open to try something different. Our guys that have been here also understand that the culture of this place is so not a ultra masculine bullying culture. It is very much the opposite. It is an open, belonging culture. I think we have right in our values at the school, we say we say three words that I'm not sure a lot of other places do. One is love, one is joy, one is laughter. And we also, of course, speak of excellence and challenge, but I think it is a person with a great sense of humor. I think it is, as I said to you, the take your work seriously, don't take yourself seriously. It is along with that humility, I think our um, kindnesses and good deeds that need not be seen or ever repaid. Um, I think it is a person that holds his or herself to a really high standard, that understands it's the person looking back in the mirror that you're ultimately responsible to, and um, you hold and define yourself by what you think of that person at the end of the day. um, and a person that is recognizing that the hard path is sometimes the right path, and whether that is third effort on your English essay, or getting up early for the 7 a.m. practice or workout, or whatever is, again, I often say here, when my kids go for hockey practice after school, they're carrying their equipment to Bill Bolton Arena. They're not walking down the road to the arena we've got on campus. It sucks. And you run over to to practice soccer in the rain behind Trinity Field along Bloor Street. I didn't, this is harder than I thought. Yep, it is. It is. And that's the benefit you're going to get. So I do think that it's not always, sometimes the hard path is actually it's generally the best path, but sometimes it's best because it's hard. If you were to ask me what for me personally, the accomplishments I'm most proud of in my first 10 years here, it is that exact question. So the neighborhood that we are in is Jane Jacobs lived on Albany Avenue. This is the Stop the Spadina Expressway neighborhood. This is and many of my neighbors are Stop the Spadina Expressway victors. And some of our neighbors, and I'm going to say this is a very small minority, the school is the worst parts of indulgent, independent two-tier education. Most of 90% of them moved into this neighborhood with a school that already existed. Parents like to drop children off at school in the morning, and so that we have increased traffic, and we sometimes have events at night, and it's a very small minority who are particularly feel that the West Annex is their neighborhood and there is no place for, say, the sound of children playing or laughter and joy. I went to great lengths to spend time listening to concerns and to understand true concerns from fictional concerns, and to address things like turning off our scoreboard lights at the end of the day, because nobody needs that in their neighborhood, and having our garbage picked up at in the middle of the day rather than first thing in the morning, and even a lot of the facility property stuff. For the most part, there's not a gate on this school. We have my soccer turf out here is full of kids from the neighborhood. I think most of the kids in the neighborhood learn to ride their bikes or their roller skates out on my ball hockey tarmac. This is an essential part of this neighborhood. And we are in a neighborhood here. We are in a residential neighborhood of often young families for whom this is their campus as much as it is mine. They can have it on weekends, they can have it after school. So and we open up that this is a polling station during elections. We open up the chapel for that. We host when we have our Christmas Carol concert, we do a version of it for the neighbors as well to come in and have a reception. So I would say, interestingly, I think I know by name more neighbors on Howland than I do on the street where I've lived for 20 years, because I just made a point of getting to know them. And again, the couple that have lived here longer than the school's been here, My maintenance guy shovels their snow in the morning, without saying a word about it, because he just knows that's the right thing to do. So we have got some legendary, and as I say, like, we when we built the facility improvement that I oversaw when I got here in 2011, we had to go to the OMB, and it was pretty contentious. But out of that came some great ideas around manage your traffic better. Provide TTC allowance for kids, to try to subsidize the TTC to try to incent them to do that. Put more, now that there's bike lanes along Bloor, I had to triple up my bike parking here because I got lots of kids riding their bikes to school now. So we've worked hard to be good neighbors, and I think we've made real inroads around being good neighbors. Broader than that, the shop owners on Bloor Street love me. The restaurant owners on Bloor Street love the kids. They're polite and they like buying a lot of submarine sandwiches. So, it's there's a couple nice things going on, and I think we partner up with the university for use of their fields. We partner up, as I say, with Bill Bolton or Forest Hill Arena for, where my guys are playing hockey. So I think we're productive, good parts of the West Annex neighborhood. There are those that would argue, but I think generally I stand pretty confident that we are good neighbors. Because I ran a K-8 school, I worked alongside families in their school search because I also have a daughter, so I couldn't bring her here. So she finished at my previous school. I think, there's I understand that it is a head and a heart decision. And the school in their admissions will talk a lot about the head stuff. Here are the number of kids that went to their first choice universities, and look at all these amazing, look in the back page of the Globe and Mail in June. The schools are posting, congratulations to our graduating class, and here are the prestigious universities they're going to. And there's a long list of prestigious universities. And the fact is, for sure, if you are considering an independent school for your child, they're going to get a great education. They are going to have equal access to Dartmouth, whether they went to your school or some other school, because it's the kid that's getting into Dartmouth, not the school, or McGill Engineering or whatever. So the head part, pay attention to. Pay way more attention to the heart part, because the heart part is, these are the kids that your kid is going to grow up with. These are the adults that are going to guide your kid through growing up. They are going to stop talking to you. You are their parent. They are not yet ready to take advice from their colleagues their own age. Into that space needs to step someone really smart, someone who cares and someone who loves them, and that is the teacher, the adult. So the heart part of it, it's harder to suss out. It is harder to figure out. You can figure it out sometimes by talking to your friends who go to that school, but their kid is not your kid. Often it is, whether it is on Zoom or come into curriculum night or open house or whatever. Sure, talk to the head of school. That person's going to have a lot to say. Spend more time talking to a teacher. Find a teacher that's standing in a corner, that's standing next to their display, that's in their classroom in a quiet moment, and talk to them about their relationship with kids, why they do what they do. As I say, these are the kids. These are the kids your kid's going to grow up with, but these are the adults that are going to be there to guide them. So my advice: pay more attention to the heart than the head.
For more information about this school, you can visit their profile at ourkids.net.